Emery felt his chest tighten as Rupert's words replayed in his mind. He was shocked, flustered, unsure how to respond. The last thing he wanted was to hurt Rupert, who had been so earnest, so open with his feelings. I'll think about it, Emory said carefully, his voice soft but firm. It was the only thing he could say without crushing Rupert's heart. Rupert's eyes softened with relief, and he nodded, smiling faintly before they walked back toward the house together. When they returned, Hale and Devon were waiting. Hale's sharp gaze fell on them immediately. "Where have you two been?" he asked, his tone dripping with suspicion and jealousy. Before Emory could respond, Rupert spoke up, his voice confident and a little teasing. "Actually, I've confessed my feelings to Emory," he announced, looking between Emory and Hale. "And I thought I could count on your help to convince him." Emory froze, caught completely off guard. His face flushed, and he opened his mouth, only to close it again. The words felt like a trap, putting him on the spot in front of his father and jealous brother. Hale's jaw tightened, and he let out a derisive laugh. "Oh really? How cute." Devon laughed, "Don't you worry, Rupert. You shall get a positive response. In fact, you should start preparing for your wedding." Emory, shocked, gave his father a pointed look, but Devon ignored him. Meanwhile, Rupert beamed happily. "That would be great, father-in-law." Laughter broke out between the two, and Hale rolled his eyes, annoyed. When Rupert left, Hale turned to Emory. "Ha! Rupert must be blind to pick you over me, Emory. Absolutely blind." He jabbed a finger toward Emory, eyes glinting with anger. "This is a first. You must be very happy." Devon clapped his hands together, ignoring Hale's jealousy entirely. "Nonsense. This is perfect," he said, a broad grin spreading across his face. "Rupert is a wealthy, influential man. Emory, this is your chance. Your family, our company could be saved. You have no choice, you'll say yes." Emory swallowed hard, trying to steady his racing heart. He knew he had to speak, even though it pained him. "Father, I appreciate Rupert, truly. He's kind, generous, but I don't love him that way. My feelings are only brotherly. That's all. I'm set on my path to become a monk, and I can't stop this childish nonsense." Devon barked, cutting him off. "You've been useless all your life. Never done anything worthwhile for this family. This is your only chance to prove yourself, Emory. If you throw it away, don't expect any mercy." Emory's hands clenched at his sides as Devon continued, voice low and dangerous. "And don't think I don't know about this homeless shelter project you still went ahead to pursue. If you refuse Rupert, I'll use every connection I have to stop it. The dream of Richard St. Clair. Over. All of it." Before Emory could respond, the door opened and Caroline entered, her hands holding a thick envelope. She curtsied slightly. "Sir, a letter arrived. It's an invitation to Lady Olivia's ball party." Devon snatched the envelope eagerly and read it. His eyes gleamed as he looked at Emory. "This is perfect. Rupert will be there, of course. And you will accept him publicly, right there in front of everyone. Consider this the final test." Emory's breath caught in his throat. He felt trapped, the walls closing in. No matter which way he turned, every path seemed blocked: Rupert's earnest love, his father's threats, Hale's jealousy. And somewhere in the back of his mind, he thought of Julian, and his chest ached at the impossibility of it all. He had no idea how he would escape this. Hale woke up that morning with his ego bruised and his mind spinning. He couldn't get over the fact that Rupert had completely ignored him, focusing all his attention on Emory instead. No man had ever treated him like that before, and Hale was used to being the one pursued, the one desired. The idea that someone could blatantly disregard him. It stung, and his pride wouldn't allow it. Determined, Hale decided to track down Rupert, curiosity and jealousy driving him. When he arrived at Rupert's apartment building, he was astounded by the sheer wealth and elegance of the place. The glossy marble floors, the high walls, the manicured gardens, it was all a statement of power. Hale's usual confidence wavered slightly as he took it all in, but he quickly squared his shoulders and marched forward. That's when he spotted Rupert in the courtyard, engaged in a conversation with someone else. His jaw dropped in disbelief. Thorne Mateo, Hale's secret lover, his own former entanglement, was there. But what startled him most was seeing Thorne, the usually domineering and confident man, bowing toward Rupert. Hale blinked, utterly shocked. A much older Thorne showing such deference to a younger man? It screamed of Rupert's influence and power. As Thorne left, he noticed Hale approaching. Embarrassment washed over his features, and for a moment he looked vulnerable, something Hale had never seen in Thorne. But Hale didn't flinch. He walked past Thorne without a word, making a silent decision in his mind. He would go after an even bigger fish. Thorne, sensing Hale's audacity and realizing he had lost this little battle, departed in quiet defeat. When Hale finally confronted Rupert, the younger man's expression was anything but welcoming. "What are you doing here?" Rupert asked sharply, arms crossed, his gaze icy. "Without an invitation?" Hale smirked, letting his confidence and charm flow. "Friends shouldn't need invitations, don't you think?" he teased, stepping closer, letting his hand brush against Rupert's arm. "I do not consider you my friend." "That's perfect then, because friends wouldn't do what I plan to do to you." Rupert smirked, clearly amused. "You're so brazen. I know exactly what you are after, but you will not get it from me. I'm not interested in you. The one I want is your brother Emery." Hale cackled, "Emory? But Emory is nothing but an old saintly bachelor. He won't be able to fulfill your desires like I would." He made to touch Rupert's arm, but Rupert recoiled, his expression hardening. "I don't like whores, I despise them because they remind me of my mother," he said coldly, his tone laced with warning. "What I love most is torturing them, teaching them a lesson, showing them what happens when they try to play with me. Stay away if you don't want to get burned." Hale's grin widened, a thrill running through him. The challenge ignited something inside him, and he leaned in slightly, letting the tension hang between them. "Now, you have gotten my attention. I don't think I can do that." Rupert smirked knowingly, sensing Hale's eagerness despite the warning. "We'll see how long you can hold out," he murmured, his voice teasing but firm, before turning and entering his house. The door slammed with a sharp bang behind him, leaving Hale standing there, grinning to himself, both infuriated and intrigued. The game had just begun. At the center, the usually cheerful Emery quietly went about his work with a subdued air. His smiles were fleeting, his usual warm energy noticeably dimmed. Some of the townspeople noticed it too, offering concerned looks or quietly asking if he was all right, but Emery politely deflected their questions, insisting he was fine. Julian, who had been supervising the construction of the homes, couldn't ignore it. He watched Emery closely, his heart tightening at the subtle slump of his shoulders, the way his hands moved a little slower than usual. When the crowd thinned and Emery found a quiet corner to rest, Julian approached him with a small box of sweets he had picked up, hoping to lift his mood. "Hey," Julian said softly, offering the sweets. "Thought you might like a little treat." Emery gave him a small, polite smile but said nothing. Julian sat beside him, lowering his voice. "You've been off all day. What's going on? You can tell me." Before Emery could answer, Hale's voice cut through the quiet, sharp and cold. Well, look who's being all cuddly alone where no one can see them," he said, striding toward them with a confident, predatory air. Both Julian and Emery straightened, surprised by his sudden appearance. Hale's eyes landed on Emery, his lips curling into a sarcastic smile. "Why are you looking at me like that?" "I suppose I have every right to be here," he said, his tone dripping with disdain. He leaned closer to Emery, his voice dropping so only they could hear. "Why don't you tell Julian what's about to happen?" Emery hesitated, his jaw tight, but Hale pressed on, as if daring him to refuse. "Fine," Hale said, his voice louder so others could hear. "Our precious father has threatened to halt the reconstruction of the homeless shelter if you don't marry Rupert Costner." The words landed like a bomb. A few townspeople nearby, including Nicky, turned toward them, whispering among themselves. Julian's eyes darkened with a mixture of anger and jealousy. "Is that true?" he demanded, his voice low and intense. Emory nodded reluctantly, feeling the weight of the truth crush him. Hale let out a bitter laugh, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Looks like your plans, Julian," he sneered, glancing between Julian and Emory, "aren't going to happen after all. Even after you broke up with me, huh?" Julian's fists clenched at his sides, annoyance flickering in his gaze, while Emory blinked in surprise. "Wait, you two broke up?" he asked, confused. Nicky, clearly irritated by Hale's smugness and tone, stepped forward and grabbed his arm. "Enough, Hale. Let's go," he said firmly, but Emory shouted. "Let go of me. How dare you touch me? I will drag you out of here through the ground if I have to." "Get out of here," he growled, dragging Emory out despite his struggles. Once Hale was gone, a tense silence fell over Julian and Emory. Julian exhaled slowly, trying to calm himself, and motioned for Emory to sit beside him. "I should clarify," Julian said quietly, his voice gentle now, "Hale and we broke up because I realized he's toxic, Emory. He wasn't the right person for me." Emory nodded slowly, the weight of everything pressing down on him. "And Rupert?" Julian asked softly. "Do you think you'll accept him?" Emory looked down. "I may not have a choice," he admitted quietly. "If I don't, they'll stop the building project. And this shelter, it means so much. I wish there were another way." Julian watched him, his chest tightening at Emery's words. He asked carefully, the vulnerability in his voice barely masked. "What do you think about me breaking up with Hale?" Emory lifted his gaze, eyes sad but resolute. "It has nothing to do with me," he said quietly. "You did what you had to do." With that, Emory turned and walked away, leaving Julian alone, staring after him with a mix of frustration, longing, and helplessness. That night, Julian sat in his expansive office, the city lights casting a faint glow through the floor-to-ceiling windows. A thick dossier lay open in front of him, the pages detailing Rupert Costner's life, wealth, and influence, information Nicky had meticulously gathered for him. He scanned through it carefully, noting that while Rupert's fortune was impressive, it still paled in comparison to his own. A small, smug smile crept across Julian's face. Nicky leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, eyes gleaming with amusement. "I have to admit," he said, "I didn't think you'd have the guts to finally cut Hale loose. But, good job. Now, admit it. You are in love with Emory Montgomery." Julian's gaze softened, almost imperceptibly. He let out a long breath and muttered, "I can't deny it anymore. Emory, he's like an angel. Fragile, delicate. I just want to protect him." His fingers drummed on the desk, restless. "Leaving him with Rupert, who I know can be so obsessive, it's unbearable. The thought alone makes me want to explode." Nicky's eyes sparkled, half teasing, half serious. "And what exactly are you planning to do about it?" Julian leaned back, steepling his fingers, a determined glint in his eyes. "There's only one way," he said simply, the decision absolute in his tone. The night of Olivia's ball had arrived, and the grand hall was a dazzling display of opulence. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above, and the air buzzed with the chatter of the elite. Olivia moved with practiced grace, exchanging smiles and polite greetings with Devon, their cordial facade barely hiding the sharp calculations behind their eyes. Across the room, Ethan flitted around Hale, trying to gain his attention, but Hale barely noticed. His gaze was fixed on Rupert, who was talking quietly with Emery, his posture protective and possessive, eyes intent on reading Emery's reaction. Rupert leaned slightly closer, lowering his voice. "Have you, finally made a decision?" he asked, hope and subtle insistence mingling in his tone. Emory opened his mouth to answer, but before he could speak, the room hushed as a sudden announcement echoed through the hall. "Ladies and gentlemen, Julian Halstead has arrived." The name alone sent ripples of shock across the crowd. Julian Halstead, reclusive, enigmatic, impossibly wealthy, never made public appearances. Guests paused mid-conversation, eyes widening. Even Olivia's perfect composure faltered, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. Then came the next shock. Nicky entered, drawing the eyes of the room, followed closely by Julian himself. Dressed impeccably, every detail of his attire sharp and commanding, Julian Halstead moved through the crowd with quiet authority, every gaze following him as he approached. Emory froze, a gasp escaping his lips as recognition dawned. The realization hit him like a lightning strike. Julian, the Julian who had quietly helped him, who had protected the shelter, who had stirred something deep inside him, was none other than the man in front of him now, the legendary Julian Halstead. Hale's jaw tightened, disbelief and fury mingling in his expression. His earlier confidence faltered as he watched Julian stride through the hall, fully exposing himself, fully declaring his presence, all to stop Emery's marriage before it could begin. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Julian's gaze found Emery, steady and unwavering. He walked over towards him and put out his hand for a handshake. "Hello. I am Julian Halstead," he muttered under his breath as Emery stared at him, mouth agape in shock. Thanks for watching. Do like and subscribe to the channel for more episodes.